The quiet night. The full moon hides in a hazy light, softly covering the surroundings with a faint silver-gray glow. The sweet scent of candy lingered in the night sky. All around was silent, only the sound of the wind rustling through the leaves and the occasional chirping of birds, annoying birds. A stone was thrown out from inside the window. A girl with a gloomy voice cursed. "Birds are in the sky, why are you throwing down?" Another girl helplessly tried to persuade her, "Damn it, can't you shut up?" The previous girl, a bit angry, harshly responded, "Don't forget, if I shut up, you won't be able to speak either." In the night, this luxurious room, under the enchanting moonlight, exuded a seductive opulence. A crystal chandelier in the shape of lilies, adorned with shimmering tassels, a purple velvet sofa draped with white fur, a golden bed, intricately carved, adorned with smooth milky white pearls, jewels and gemstones were scattered everywhere, showing off the wealth of the owner. Yet, strangely, the room held only one person, though two voices were heard. There was only one beautiful maiden. She was talking to herself in front of the mirror. The maiden had long deep blue hair, as bright as the ocean. Her crystal purple dreamlike eyes, skin soft like lotus petals, a delicate nose, her rosy lips slightly curved into a smile. No matter how you look at her, she is an exquisite beauty, yet this beauty is dressed in an extremely sloppy manner. The pale yellow long dress is stained with grease spots. The lace at the collar, shaped like lotus leaves, has been tugged until it's tattered. The long, thick hem drags on the ground, looking very messy. The girl frowned, struggling to drag her long dress, and angrily yelled into the mirror, "Kill me. I really hate you." Though the girl in the mirror still had her brows furrowed, her purple eyes were filled with tenderness, tinged with a deep sorrow that couldn't be seen through. "Lisa, I know you hate sharing a body with me, but this isn't something we can choose. This year, the angel's tear of the fox spirits has been taken by someone. You must know, that is the only key to open the candy castle. By this time next year, if someone sincerely builds a candy castle and obtains the angel's tear, when the clock strikes midnight, the doors of the candy castle will open for them." Many years ago, Lisa, who had a fiery temper, did something earth-shattering for her love. She secretly brought the angel's tear to the human world and placed it in the lake at Jia High School. As a result, the lake became the perpetually cold Tear Lake. On the island in the lake, roses bloom everywhere, and the water from the fountain on the island is also called love water. Yes, it must be, right? Sarah looked into the mirror. Sarah clasped his hands together in immense excitement. He knew for sure that John would come back to find him. John must have felt that in this world, the one most suited to her, who understood her the best, could only be him. Because his very existence was entirely for her. Even though John temporarily chose Deep, making herself return to the candy castle as a witch, Sarah was not willing to give up. He brought the angel's tears to the human world and placed them in the lake of Jia High School, just to leave John a path to find him. Sarah shook his head, looking at Lisa across from him, his eyes full of pity. His dear sister was still clinging to a ridiculous fantasy. John and Deep were happy together, how could they possibly come back to the candy castle? Ah, it seems someone is coming. Suddenly, a dazzling light burst forth from Sarah's chest. Sarah was so excited that even his body trembled slightly. He took out a crystal-clear orb and slowly chanted an incantation. Immediately, a handsome young man appeared inside the transparent crystal ball. The boy was shivering from the cold in the tear vessel, yet he persisted in swimming to the island and managed to take a bottle of water. In the pale pink water, only Sarah could see the two sparkling angels' tears inside. It wasn't John. Sarah was infinitely disappointed and let go in defeat. The crystal ball rolled on the ground, his whole life shattered along with it was Zero's heart. Sarah let out a helpless sigh. Do you know why the loves the night? Because the night is diligent, gentle, understanding, skilled at laundry and cooking. Just like me. At this point, Sarah grew a bit proud, completely forgetting Lisa's fatal weakness. Lisa clenched his fists, gritting his teeth and said to Sarah in the mirror, "What? I almost forgot, you and that damn duh have the same personality." Cat swallowed the red yarn, cat swallowed the red yarn, the corners of Sarah's mouth curled into a strange smile. Lisa, you used a curse to control me again. You deserve it, you'll never obtain true feelings. Sarah shrieked sharply, with a hint of frustration, but quickly vanished from the mirror. The silver moonlight spilled over a grand building, the palace-like residence was draped in a veil of starlight. In the room near the lake, the orange light still gently flickered. On the sky-blue marble table, was an assortment of flowers scattered around. Chocolate, almonds, milk, and various types of candy and pastry ingredients filled the table. The diverse assortment of molds was dazzling to the eyes. They were meticulously categorized and arranged on a peachwood dining table carved with gold-plated floral designs. A busy figure was moving back and forth among the space. It was a very handsome young man, dressed in a casual white outfit. A tall chef's hat covered his dark brown locks, revealing a smooth forehead. His face, exquisitely sculpted like ice and jade, looked slightly tired, but his amber-colored eyes sparkled with starlight, flowing with a captivating gentleness. On his white apron, an oversized cartoon candy design was embroidered, contrasting sharply with his striking appearance. What was even more amusing was that in the lower right corner of the candy, there was a crooked line of big words embroidered, "I like Lily." Despite this, the handsome young man often lowered his gaze to glance at the words, and his rose-colored lips would gently curl up, forming a smile that could overshadow all the flowers in the world. Lily must be the name of someone he loves. Honey, whole eggs, hazelnut starch, orange peel, raisins, rum, it seemed that with love in his heart, the young man was like a fully powered engine, working non-stop. His white, lotus petal-like fingers skillfully handled the ingredients. He carefully mixed the ingredients, kneading until the dough and liquid were completely blended. Only then did he stop, after finishing the dough. He swiftly grabbed the rolling pin, and his hands skillfully rolled it back and forth. In the blink of an eye, the thick dough had turned into a plate of perfectly thin pastry. He took out a knife, and the sharp tip of the blade reflected his slightly furrowed brows. Under his long eyelashes, his amber-colored eyes narrowed slightly, containing an intense seriousness. It was as if he was holding not a pastry knife, but a surgeon's scalpel that determined life and death. His focused gaze fell on the pastry, sketching a perfect image in his mind. With his precise calculations, he didn't need any paper templates. Intricate, decorative pieces of pastry were mysteriously born from his hands. A layer of butter was evenly spread on each piece, and they were placed on an orange tray and sent into the oven. The series of non-stop movements caused sweat to start beading on his forehead. People said he was a man of few words. "Will Kennedy, young master, it's time to eat, you haven't eaten all day. Maybe you should eat first." At that moment, a gust of wind swept in from outside the room. A short, yellow-faced young boy dashed in. "Get out, Cassie." The boy's words were as cold as millennia-old ice, instantly dropping the surrounding temperature by several degrees. Cassie didn't even dare to lift his eyes, but he could still feel the oppressive pressure radiating from the boy. Young master." Cassie struggled unwillingly, a thin layer of mist forming over his small eyes, as if with a mere touch, tears would fall. This trick was something he had learned from Miss Lily. Every time Miss Lily twisted her body and acted cute with young master, the coldness in his eyes would immediately melt away. "Unless it's Lily looking for me, don't bother me with anything else, including eating or sleeping. Got it?" The boy's gaze swept over Cassie like an X-ray, his voice slow yet filled with overwhelming authority, causing Cassie's almost falling tears to retract immediately. His small eyes darted around restlessly as he weakly replied, "Understood, young master." Cassie obediently withdrew. Just then, the freshly baked gingerbread was ready. The boy picked up one of the steaming gingerbread, inspecting its thickness and hardness under the light. Cassie, who had just stepped outside, caught sight of this scene. Immediately surrounded by Fuang Tu and Titan. Every time Miss Lily celebrates her birthday, young master spends a long time preparing, even not eating or drinking. Yes, every time young master celebrates his birthday, we've never seen Miss Lily care. But whenever young master buys some random thing, it makes him happy for the whole day. Miss Lily is so spoiled, only knows how to bully our young master. She is not good at anything, from cooking, tea ceremony to flower arranging, things that girls should know, she knows none of them. Yes, Miss Lily only knows how to cause trouble. Poor young master always has to clean up her messes. She is just a glutton, always thinking about eating, and our young master resignedly works for her non-stop. Miss Lily also has many bad habits, like getting car sick, refusing to ride in a normal car, always making young master ride a bike to take her to school every day, forcing me to follow them in the Lincoln. She also has a fear of heights, poor young master, grown up so much but has never ridden a pirate ship. Miss Lily also gets jealous easily. At school she doesn't allow young master to talk to other girls, nor let him stand within 3 steps of them. Even at home, she forbids hiring female servants. Phuong Tu and Tatan started criticizing Miss Lily's faults one after another. Daoist K's remained silent, waiting until they finished speaking before letting out a long sigh. Sigh, but sometimes Miss Lily is a good girl. Yes, Miss Lily has a kind heart. Every time I make a mistake and get punished by the young master, it's always Miss Lily who pleads for me. Even though Miss Lily gives me headaches, she's an angel. She loves taking in stray cats and dogs. Even I was brought back by her. Although Miss Lily has many flaws, only such a kind and pure heart could be worthy of young Master Will from our household. Outside, people were fervently gossiping, but inside, the young man was like a magician. In an instant, his skillful hands had intricately combined the various models, and the shape of a castle slowly appeared. Time passed, minute by minute, from late night to dawn. As the first rays of sunlight shone upon him, the young man was completing the final step, crafting the top of the candy castle. It was a statue of a snow-white unicorn. Its translucent body reflected dazzling light under the sun. The young man smiled in satisfaction at his creation, his lips curling into a deeper smile without him realizing it. He gently picked up a grape from the table and carefully placed it into the eyes of the statue. In that moment, the statue, which had been lifeless, seemed to gain a soul. The deep purple eyes sparkled with brilliance. Finally, it's done. The young boy happily pushed the window open. Sunlight poured freely into the room, casting a radiant glow on his face. Today was Lily's birthday, the day he looked forward to the most each year, because every birthday, he would receive a surprise. Like last year, when he got Love Water. Love Water was a treasure that everyone at the school coveted. Jia High School, where Lily studies, not only boasts the most beautiful garden in the city, but also has a 500 square meter artificial lake. The lake water is clear, still as ice, and emits a strange, cold glow, earning it the name Ice Lake. In the middle of the lake is a small island, and on the island, there is a fountain with a Greek goddess statue. Surrounding the fountain are blooming roses, filling the air with fragrance, so the water in the fountain always carries a pleasant rose scent. The students call the water in the fountain Love Water. Sure. Here's the revised English translation with the character names Will Kennedy and Lily as in the Vietnamese version. Every year, many people brave the biting cold and swim across frozen lake to retrieve love water from the fountain. Legend says that offering love water to the one you love will bring them the goddess's blessing, granting happiness for a lifetime. However, many people can't withstand the cold of the lake water and often turn back halfway. Only a few actually make it to the end and manage to get the love water. Of course, there is one person who would not be fazed by such a challenge. Love water was the birthday gift Will Kennedy gave to Lily last year. That time, Will Kennedy handcrafted a rose-shaped glass bottle, filled it with love water, and under the dazzling fireworks, held Lily's hand and presented him with the love water that symbolizes eternal love. Sweet Lily can still vividly recall that moment when his heart raced, the faint rose fragrance, the cool touch, and the soft pink hue of the water encased in the crystal-clear rose glass bottle. Under the silver moonlight, Will Kennedy's radiant smile was as bright as the sun, his amber eyes full of deep affection as he quietly gazed at Lily. This keeps the names Will Kennedy and Lily consistent with the Vietnamese version. What gift will you give me? What are you thinking? Will Kennedy pinched Lily's little nose. I'm thinking about your gift. Lily smiled sweetly and shook the bottle of love potion in her hand. You only think about gifts. Will Kennedy's tone was a little sour, but his eyes couldn't hide the affection. I've been preparing it for a long time. I guarantee it will make you happy. Really? Quan Quan is the best. Lily playfully smiled, happily hugging Will Kennedy's shoulders. All right, my little birthday star, we've played all day today, now it's time for me to take you to see your gift. It's rare for you to wait until now to ask me, you've really improved. Isn't it because of you? Every time, you wait until nearly 12 o'clock to give me a gift. After so many years, I've gotten used to it. Lily pouted. They say when the clock strikes 12, if you look at your gift, you'll get happiness for the next year. Now I'll take you to see your gift. Close your eyes and follow me. Will Kennedy playfully winked at Lily, his eyebrows curved, a smile lighting up his face. Lily rolled her eyes sparkling, so mysterious. It must be a very special gift. He hurriedly nodded. Obediently closed his eyes and placed his hand into Will Kennedy's palm. Will Kennedy's hand was warm and moist. It seemed like he was a bit nervous. Lily suppressed the excitement in his heart, following Will Kennedy's steps, step by step, slowly reaching the destination. We're here. Will Kennedy whispered in Lily's ear. Just as he was about to open his eyes, Will Kennedy said again, Don't rush, let me turn off the lights first. Count to 3, no cheating. Lily pouted, that Will Kennedy always knew him so well. At first, Lily wanted to count to 3 quickly in one breath, but now he had to count slowly. 1, 2, 3. When he reached 30, oh my, what did Lily see? In the pitch-black room, there was a super luxurious and beautiful castle, shining brightly in the dark, just like diamonds. The garden of the castle, fountains, birds, and animals, flowers and plants all appeared vividly before Lily's eyes. Will Kennedy, is this? Lily turned his head, looking at Will Kennedy in disbelief. Will Kennedy smiled and patted Lily's head. Go in and take a look, isn't this what you've always wanted? Lily trembled as he took a few steps forward. Here is the English translation with the names of people and places kept as in the Vietnamese version. Only now did I realize that this beautiful castle made of Job's tears was entirely decorated with candy and cookies. This was the legendary candy castle from the fairy tales. I only mentioned it once to Will Kennedy, but he remembered it all along. Such a massive project, no wonder Will Kennedy has been looking so tired lately, with dark circles under his eyes. Pastry embedded with colorful nuts formed the castle's framework, chocolate made up the roof, and the windows were bright blocks of candy. The roads were made of fruit jelly, resembling colorful mosaic tiles. The castle's interior was adorned with colored reglazed sugar, luxurious carpets made of high-grade cornstarch powder, unicorns crafted from crushed almonds, a garden created from slices of citrus coated with sugar frosting. The fountain sculptures made of skimmed milk cheese spewed rich, creamy milk. This was a castle even more beautiful than the one in fairy tales. Every turn brought a perfect combination of various desserts and candies, crafted with extraordinary care. It was a sweet temptation indeed. Do you like it? Will Kennedy asked, holding Lily and lovingly patting her head. I love it, I really do. This was the best birthday present Lily had received in her 16 years of life. Thank you, Will. Lily said excitedly, hugging Will Kennedy tightly. Will Kennedy gave a firm kiss on Lily's fair face, and without hesitation, immediately saw his face blush all the way to his ears, like a boiled shrimp. Will nestled in Lily arms, gazing at the beautiful Candy City, feeling indescribably happy. The clock on the wall ticked once. It was almost 12 o'clock. Lily pointed at the large wall clock, excitedly exclaiming, "It's almost a new day. I hope every day from now on will be as joyful as today. The Candy City from fairy tales, I really love it. Look, I placed the love water inside the Candy City, aren't they a perfect match? Such a big city can hold so many gifts. If it could hold the two of us too, that would be wonderful." Lily stared at the Candy City, wanting to dive in to take a closer look. "You always have such whimsical thoughts. Fairy tales are just fairy tales. How can people enter Candy City? No, there really is a fairy kingdom in this world. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Look at the Candy City you made with your own hands, maybe it really exists somewhere." Lily dragged Will Kennedy in front of the city, pointing at the large red door of the castle, speaking earnestly. "All right, if you say it exists, then it exists." The final chime of the clock had rung. "The gate of the Candy Castle, quick, open up." Will Kennedy smiled gently, teasing. When the last bell tolled, Lily's heart suddenly raced uncontrollably. Affected by Will Kennedy's words, she felt like the gate of the Candy Castle would truly open. The atmosphere became particularly quiet and eerie. "Lily, look." Suddenly, Will Kennedy's voice turned urgent and fearful. Lily looked down. Oh my God. Both her legs and Will Kennedy's legs had become transparent. Silver glitter was flying beside their legs, shimmering like swarms of fireflies, gently glowing in the dark night. Then, Lily's body started to turn transparent bit by bit. Lily stood there, trying to move, but her whole body seemed nailed to the spot, unable to move. After a terrifying scream, Lily and Will Kennedy mysteriously vanished into the air. Endless mountain ranges, winding streams, dense forests, a towering castle reaching the clouds, standing firm on the emerald green grassland. Looking up, the sky was floating with milk-white clouds, carrying a soft breeze. It was like a vivid, colorful dream. On the vast green meadow stretching as far as the eye can see, various small unnamed flowers of different colors, like a seven-colored rainbow after the rain, spread across the land, soaking in sweetness, emitting a faint fragrance, either bit by bit, or in clusters, dotting the green grass. The sun's rays slanted across, making the scenery even more vivid. Lily and Will Kennedy had just heard the 12 o'clock chime, suddenly transitioning from night to day, still immersed in the joy of receiving a super-large candy castle from Will Kennedy. Facing the beautiful scene in front, the first thought of Lily was, "I'm dreaming. How wonderful, another beautiful dream, and with Will Kennedy this time." Lily grabbed Will Kennedy's hand, shouting and jumping with joy. However, Will Kennedy was not as optimistic as Lily, carefully recalling the moment after the 12 o'clock chime, when a sudden flash of white light appeared. At that moment, Lily screamed in fear, throwing herself onto him, causing him to lose balance and fall to the ground, his hand scraping the ground, still stinging painfully. "Lily, this is not a dream," Will Kennedy said with a blank expression, his amber-colored eyes quietly scanning the surroundings, his brow slightly furrowed with worry. "Isn't it?" Lily blinked his big, round eyes like black grapes, his face full of innocence. Will Kennedy looked at Lily, shaking his injured palm. The fresh red wound was still oozing some blood. "Will Kennedy, you're bleeding." Completely unaware that he was the main culprit, Lily finally realized. He plopped down on the ground, scrambling around like a headless fly. In biology class, they had mentioned which kinds of plants could stop bleeding. What do they look like again? Lily scoured the little biological knowledge he had, racking his brain trying to recall. Strangely enough, the meadow didn't smell of fresh grass or earth, but instead carried the sweet scent of Turkish delight. He gently touched it, even the soft texture felt similar. Will Kennedy pulled out a blade of grass and placed it in front of Lily, saying helplessly, "This is completely made of Turkish delight." Grass made from Turkish delight. Lily exclaimed, quickly covering his mouth with his hand. His heart raced, and it took him a deep breath to calm down. Could it be, this is, the candy castle? Oh my gosh, we've fallen into a castle made of candy. Lily excitedly shook Will Kennedy's arm. Upon entering the otherworld, Will Kennedy's fears seemed to completely vanish. His mind was immediately filled with the novelty and allure of the candy castle. Look over there, on that mountain. Will Kennedy cautiously surveyed the surroundings. Sure enough, he spotted a castle atop a hill not far away. The two of them walked for about an hour before the towering, cloud-reaching magnificent castle appeared before them. A vast, shimmering river, like a beautiful jade belt, encircled the castle. On the lush green meadow stood the city pavilion bridge, spanning across both banks, its pergolas covered in vines. At the end of the bridge stood a typical medieval castle. The Gothic-style architecture, adorned with exquisite vintage carvings, vibrant stained-glass windows, and a golden hollow rose gate, all bathed in a golden glow under the sunlight, radiated brightness and beauty. Brilliant colors and a sweet fragrance permeated every inch of the castle. Upon closer inspection, the materials used to build the candy castle turned out to be gingerbread, chocolate bread, fruit jam, cream, and honey blended with almonds. The white pebble path leading to the castle's gate was actually soft marshmallow, making each step feel like treading on familiar cotton candy. It really gives you a guilty pleasure. Stepping on cotton candy clouds, Lily suddenly felt heartbroken, really wanted to bend down, pinch a piece, and taste it. The walls also had the fragrance of raisins and crushed almonds with a faint aroma of rum. Swallowed some saliva. If it weren't for Will Kennedy pulling him back, he might have already gnawed a hole in that wall. Welcome to Candy City, dear humans. The door to Candy City suddenly opened. A gentle and polite voice of a young man rang out. It was a middle-aged gentleman wearing a black, elegant hat covering his thick green hair, his skin slightly dark, small, sharp brown eyes, a small, neat chin with a curled goatee. He wore a beautiful dark purple velvet tailcoat, one hand holding an exquisite gold-capped cane, the other hand placed on his chest. He slightly bowed to Lily and Will Kennedy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your guide to Candy City, Figaro. Figaro blinked his small eyes, smiling playfully. Mr. Figaro, why did we come here? There were too many questions in Will Kennedy's heart. Every year, on September 15th, Candy Castle opens its doors to the public. As long as you possess the magic key and have created a candy castle with sincere effort, at exactly midnight, the door of Candy Castle will open. Figaro walked on Will Kennedy's left side, naturally holding his golden journal in one hand. The magic key? What kind of key is that? Lily, with eyes fixed on the delicious food, overheard the conversation between Figaro and Will Kennedy and quickly interrupted. The tears of an angel are the key to open the door, and also the love potion you gave to Lily. Figaro gave a meaningful glance at Lily and Will Kennedy, then shook his golden journal and continued, of course, someone must sincerely create the candy castle, otherwise, just having the key is useless. Wow, that sounds really hard. Lily stuck out her tongue. Indeed, for hundreds of years, you are the only human guests at the Candy Castle. Figaro playfully winked at Lily. What is that? At this moment, Lily's attention was drawn to a box placed on the throne. The box was adorned with luxurious jewels, and it was something that Lily immediately took a liking to. That is the happiness candy. It is the most precious thing in the Candy Castle. It is a magical candy, capable of granting the happiness one desires. Really? What does it look like? Upon hearing that the happiness candy could bring the happiness people wish for, Lily's heart itched as if scratched by a cat. Since our distinguished guests wish to see it, there's no harm in showing it. Figaro waved the scepter in his hand, and the exquisite box magically flew up, landing precisely in his palm. Figaro opened the box in front of Lily and Will Kennedy. Inside were two tiny figures embracing each other, looking exactly like a miniature version of Lily and Will Kennedy. What do you see? Figaro's smile carried a hint of mystery. We see it, it's me and Lily. I see it too, I see Lily and me hugging tightly. Happiness candy. Each person sees a different shape, because in each person's heart, the definition of happiness is not the same. You see the image of two people embracing, it means that in your heart, happiness is two people never separating. Happiness candy, it can help you truly achieve happiness. Figaro's voice echoed distantly, as if carrying an enchanting power. Obtaining the happiness you desire, is such a tempting allure. Tang Tang wanted the happiness candy, almost without hesitation. For the things she desires, Tang Tang has always been clear in her demands. Listening to Figaro's words, looking at the two sweetly embracing figures in the box, Quan Ziyu couldn't help but feel a stir towards the happiness candy, but he knew very well, something so precious, could not be easily obtained. As expected, Figaro's expression was filled with an unfathomable depth. He stood up, tapping his golden cane lightly on the ground, producing a crisp sound. The happiness candy carries a curse, because before obtaining it, one must pass a test. Whatever happiness is in your heart, it will test that. So, the test can be simple or complex, depending on the person. But if you can't pass the test, not only will you not get the happiness candy, but you will also be punished. Decoding the punishment of happiness. So, what is the test for Lily? Although there's punishment, Lily's nature remains unchanged. As long as the jar is there, there's nothing Lily can't obtain. This belief has been deeply ingrained in his heart since the day he met Will Kennedy. I don't know, but the challenge you face will be the same. Are you sure you want to take the test? Figaro shook his head. Young people tend to act impulsively. But Lily hesitated not for a moment, his eyes full of anticipation and excitement as he looked at Will Kennedy. Will Kennedy was very familiar with that look, it was the sign of Lily's unwavering determination to get what he wanted. And that excited, expectant gaze always made Will Kennedy unable to refuse. He never knew what failure felt like, because the word failure doesn't exist in Will Kennedy's dictionary. For Lily, Will Kennedy's heart was filled with endless strength, brimming with confidence. But some things cannot be decided by Will Kennedy alone. Figaro's eyes were full of pity, yet the two immersed in their joy didn't notice it at all. Figaro's posed a very simple question: separate the two people and place them in a confined space. Figaro's called it the real illusion. Each person would answer 3 questions about the other, similar to the compatibility tests often seen on modern television. If their answers matched, it meant they had passed the test. In the hazy, white, illusory space, Lily, initially a bit nervous, became excited after hearing Figaro's explanation of the rules. Such simple questions, how could they possibly challenge them? They had been together since infancy, their connection was like one person. Lily quickly finished her answers, but when Will Kennedy came out, his expression seemed a bit off. Will, the questions were simple, right? Lily excitedly circled around Will Kennedy, chattering away. Tu Duong, you didn't answer a single question about Will Kennedy correctly. Are you sure you truly understand him? Figaro's raised his eyebrow, a hint of anger flickering in his brown eyes. That's impossible. Will and I have been together since childhood. Lily screamed, immediately rejecting Figaro's words. Figaro's let out a cold laugh, his eyes filled with an icy sharpness. I was asking about Will Kennedy's preferences, not yours. Do you think you can represent Will Kennedy? Let me tell you what Will Kennedy truly thinks. First question. Will Kennedy does not like the desserts you claim to be his favorite. Other than drinking water, he doesn't like any snacks at all. When you forced him to eat those foods, didn't you notice Will Kennedy frowning? Second question, Will Kennedy doesn't enjoy helping you make candy, copying notes, picking you up from school, or shopping with you. He loves outdoor activities like rock climbing and adventures, but all of these have been put aside because of you. Because you always demand him to be with you unconditionally. Third question, what Will Kennedy longs for the most, you might never guess, is riding on a pirate ship. But because you're afraid of heights and get seasick, Will Kennedy must also hate the pirate ship with you. Tang tang, tang tang, Will Kennedy never expected that Figaro would so clearly express what was on his mind. For a moment, he felt a bit embarrassed, not knowing how to explain. This sudden truth left Tang Tang feeling confused, unsure of what to do. He had been so confident in thinking that what he liked must also be what Will Kennedy liked. When all of this truth suddenly appeared in front of him, he didn't know what to do. His heart suddenly felt empty. It turned out that everything wasn't real. Will Kennedy didn't like those things at all, yet he had endured for so long for himself thinking about these things. Lily's face turned bright red, bowing his head like a child who had done something wrong, but not long after he raised his head again, looking straight into Will Kennedy's eyes. The fiery spark reignited in his gaze. Will Kennedy, how could you do this? You clearly told me that you liked it. You told him that you didn't think like what he said. Lily, you completely don't understand the meaning of happiness, and you don't deserve to be happy. Tangua, a selfish person like you doesn't appreciate everything Will has done for you. You even blamed him. You will face the harshest punishment. Figaro swung the golden curtain, his voice stern and severe. In his brown eyes flashed a cold, icy light, no longer the politeness of the first meeting nor the warmth of being together. Everything, all of it, had disappeared like ice melting in spring water. That coldness made Lily shiver all over. He shrank back, sneakily glancing at Will Kennedy. Here is the revised English translation with the requested character names, Lily gently called out. Will Kennedy saw her long eyelashes flutter, tears about to fall, and her expression was so sorrowful and pitiful that Will Kennedy's heart nearly broke. Mr. Figaro was quite arrogant, but Lily was still a good girl. Don't. Will Kennedy wanted to say something nice to help Lily and ease the frozen atmosphere, but just as he opened his mouth, it only made Figaro even angrier. He immediately interrupted Will Kennedy, his cheeks puffed up with anger, and his mustache trembled. Lily, you will pay the price for your actions until you truly understand the meaning of happiness. You will lose your happiness, the one you cherish most. Sugar spirit. Hear my call. The one who decodes happiness will face the most severe punishment. Child, love has caused you pain. If you forget, you will regrow your golden wings and be blessed by the gods. Figaro waved his golden staff, muttering an incantation. With each beat of the heart, a long golden light appeared in the air, stretching from Lily to Will Kennedy, dazzling like a golden dragon. Then, the golden light gradually faded, transforming into tiny golden specks, like glitter falling from the sky. For a brief moment, Lily felt as if he were in a fairyland. When he came to his senses, under the twinkling golden light, Will Kennedy's body became blurry, unreal, and more indistinct. It seemed as though he would disappear in the very next second. Gradually, he became transparent, slowly dissolving into the air. Lily wanted to reach out and hold him back, but had no strength left, only able to helplessly watch everything unfold before his eyes. Until finally, Will Kennedy completely disappeared. Under the golden light, Will Kennedy desperately tried to shout, but no sound came out. He could only use his amber eyes to quietly gaze at Lily. In his gaze, there was an overwhelming concern for Lily, and a deep sense of unwillingness to part. Lily watched as Will Kennedy disappeared in front of him, suddenly frozen in shock. The air seemed to freeze as well. At that moment, all Lily could remember was Will Kennedy's gaze, filled with infinite affection, before he vanished. In the eerie silence, something quietly shattered, falling away piece by piece. Don't drop the jar, don't abandon Lily, don't. A long time later, facing the empty void, Lily let out a heart-wrenching cry. Give the jar back to Lily, give it back to Lily. Lily tugged at Figala's clothes, with only that phrase lingering in their mind. Figala didn't avoid it, letting Lily tear at the clothes, staying completely still. It wasn't until Lily cried out all their strength and released their grip that Figala finally spoke. Go home and think about where you went wrong. The golden journal flashed with a streak of golden light, as if an invisible hand was pushing Lily forward. The powerful force overwhelmed Lily, who was already exhausted, and they couldn't hold on any longer. Everything went dark, and they passed out. Episode 4, A Smile plus 99 Tears equals 100% Love. Bitter, sweet, sour, reach into the candy box. Make a wish mint or strawberry, you will make it come true for Lily. The melodious sound of the alarm rang, waking up the lazy sunshine of a lifetime. Lily jumped up from the big bed. This was the first time he heard the alarm, and immediately got up, rubbing his aching head. Lily felt exhausted. Unexpectedly, he dreamed of Will Kennedy disappearing in front of him. It was truly the most absurd dream in the world. How could his jar just vanish, right before his eyes? It must have been a strange dream, surely a funny and ridiculous dream. Lily stretched, pursed his lips slightly. Will Kennedy has been my fiancé since childhood. From a young age, he has always taken care of and protected me. To Will Kennedy, I have always been the most important and cherished person. Someone like Will Kennedy could never bear to leave me. Lily confidently blinked his big black eyes, small and sparkling. He began listing reasons why Will Kennedy couldn't just leave him and disappear like that. Immediately, he beamed with joy. As usual, he habitually walked to the window, poked his head out. Every day Will Kennedy would be waiting for him under the window on time. He rides his bike and carries me. Cassie was driving the Lincoln, following behind us. What happiness! Lily sweetly clasped her hands together, feeling happiness bubbling up inside. But, there was none, absolutely none. The road in front of the gate, from beginning to end, from left to right, every parking spot had been scanned hundreds of times by Lily, yet she still couldn't see that familiar black Lincoln. Nor could she spot Quan Ziyu's tall figure. Immediately, a thin layer of mist covered Lily's eyes. Her pink lips under the petite nose pressed tightly together, and her slightly pointed chin tilted upwards. Her previously overly excited body became stiff. A cloud of black smoke-like substance began swirling over Lily's head. What time was it already? Yet Guanzi still hadn't arrived. What's going on? It must be that damned Cassie dragging his feet. Every time Guanzi scolded Cassie, she would go and plead for him, yet he knew nothing about gratitude. Lily automatically blamed Cassie for Quan Ziyu's absence. She picked up her phone, angrily pressing the familiar number. Guanzi, how much longer until you get here? As soon as the call connected, Lily angrily went straight to the point. Hello, this is Quan Ziyu's phone. Who is this, please? As usual, whenever she called Quan Ziyu's phone, a high-pitched female voice echoed from inside, her tone clearly full of questioning and scolding. Lily nearly burst Casey's eardrums. He moved the headset far away, yet still politely asked for the caller's name. Casey, what kind of call are you taking and asking Will Kennedy to answer? Why are you stalling again today? You can't even recognize Lily's voice. Lily had a loud voice, and she started firing off words rapidly into the phone. On the other end, the voice kept rambling non-stop, the pitch even higher. Casey grimaced, his eyebrows furrowing. Who on earth is this lady on the other end? How does she know his name, Casey, and why is she so arrogant, even calling the young master something like Will? In the young master's circle of close friends, no one fits this description. Even the young master's dearest cousin, Fai Vu, is very gentle. Who is this person? Seeing Casey looking troubled after receiving the call, as if racking his brain, Will Kennedy walked over. The voice from the other end was loud, and Will Kennedy heard everything clearly. He frowned slightly and decisively said, "Hang up." His words made Casey visibly relieved, and he quickly ended the call. Will Kennedy coldly instructed, "Change the number." "Yes, young master," Casey stuck out his tongue and responded. "It seems like Lily is angry. Indeed, how could there be such a person? So strange. Will Kennedy. Will Kennedy." Lily called the name countless times, but only heard the annoying beeping sound from the other end. Clearly, the other person had already hung up. "Will Kennedy." Lily shouted into the void. "It's time to call Will Kennedy and teach them some servant rules." The usually loose management had blurred the line between master and servant for Will Kennedy. Relying on Lily's usual gentleness, Will Kennedy dared to hang up the phone on him. Looks like from now on, Lily needs to maintain a bit more authority. How annoying. Lily casually tossed the phone aside. This model had long become boring. Today, Will Kennedy's lateness was a perfect reason. Clapping his hands, Lily thought that when he sees Will Kennedy, he should have him buy a new phone. As for Will Kennedy, wait. Lily had to act really angry. Haha. 20 minutes later, Lily arrived at Tia High School's gate. During the morning rush hour, the gate was packed with waves of students hurrying to school. But there was an exception. Standing about a meter from the school gate was a female student. She wore a pink dress and had her hair tied up in a playful ponytail. Lily had fair skin, vibrant red lips, and her adorable face was adorned with a pair of big watery eyes, lively and animated, making her appear particularly small and cute. The people passing by couldn't help but glance at her more than once. But it wasn't because of her beauty, but because of her unique posture. She was wearing a dress, lying with her whole body spread out in the shape of a star, her rosy cheeks puffed up, and her small waist propped up. Those big round eyes seemed to be burning with two flames, unblinking, not missing a single car stopping in front of the school gate. This little girl, looking both naive and determined, was none other than Lily, the true young lady. Since arriving at the school gate, Lily had held this posture. Although a bit tired, the most challenging part was her sore mouth, as she kept her cheeks puffed up, blowing air. She told herself she must persevere. Lily told herself she absolutely had to win in terms of aura, to let Will Kennedy and Kat Tay know that she, young Lady Lily, was very angry, so that her new phone would soon be hers. But when that familiar black Lincoln, accompanied by a trail of dust, entered Lily's sight, it was also the moment when she silently repeated the name Will Kennedy countless times in her heart. Lily held in a breath, and suddenly all the pressure seemed to lift. Will Kennedy, dressed in pure white, always stood out among the sea of people. His holy and handsome appearance was like that of an angel, allowing Lily to effortlessly catch sight of him. The jar, Lily's jar. Lily watched as Will Kennedy stepped out of the car, glowing as if bathed in light. In Lily's eyes, it seemed as if only Will Kennedy existed. He wore a snow-white silk shirt, noble and elegant. A single deep blue gemstone button fastened his collar, paired with white casual trousers of the same hue, making him look as graceful as a prince. At that moment, he raised his head, hands in his pockets, a few strands of messy hair covering his left eye. His slightly furrowed brows and clear amber eyes emitted a light as cold as polar ice, making the fangirls around him not dare to approach. They could only stand at a distance, drooling. Cassian followed behind Will Kennedy, holding his backpack, occasionally glaring fiercely at the fangirls. Seeing them shrink back, Cassian felt proud, for clearing obstacles for his master was the duty of a proper servant. Seeing the jar that belonged solely to him. Lily's imposing manner suddenly faded by half, and his heart softened. In a moment, as long as Will Kennedy explained the reason and coaxed him a little, Lily would decide not to make things difficult for him. Surely, when Will Kennedy walked over, he would first blame himself, explain why he hadn't come to pick him up, and then, with the gentlest voice and the most loving gaze, he would ask for forgiveness. Though Lily's heart softened slightly, his imposing manner did not waver. His almond-shaped eyes were still burning with fire, his lips pouted, his cheeks puffed up. Step by step, the distance between Will Kennedy and Lily became shorter. Lily held his head high, like a small lion full of fighting spirit, claws outstretched. But Will Kennedy didn't even look at Lily. When he passed by, he didn't stop at all. Even Lily's cool, imposing stance didn't catch his attention. Oh my God, what on earth happened today? Could this be a new trick by Will Kennedy to amuse me? No, this joke isn't funny at all. Will Kennedy. Everyone familiar with Lily knew that when he called Will Kennedy by his full name, it meant he was really angry, extremely angry, furiously angry. Only a strong fire extinguisher could extinguish the fierce flames engulfing his entire body. Will Kennedy felt nothing toward the little girl running up to him with her sword drawn, ready for a fight. She raised her eyebrows, her ponytail almost pointing to the sky. Her small face was puffed up, yet her eyes were unusually large. She was dressed very elegantly, but her pose, with one hand on her hip, was that of a shrew, ready to settle a score and not stop until her anger was vented. A typical arrogant young lady. Had he offended her? Will Kennedy slightly furrowed his brows, quickly glancing at Lily. He was certain he didn't even know her. Lily's unique outfit intrigued Will Kennedy. After seeing so many lovesick girls, suddenly encountering this type of fake, wild girlfriend, was quite refreshing. It seemed like she had put a lot of effort into catching his attention. Not bad, he gave her a solid 2 seconds of his attention, a new record. However, Will Kennedy was never one to waste his time on this kind of strange infatuation. Shifting his direction slightly, Will Kennedy bypassed Lily and continued walking forward. Surprisingly, Will Kennedy didn't pay her any attention. Lily gradually regained some confidence on her face, and continued speaking clearly, word by word, "Listen carefully, I won't pay any attention to you this entire morning, and I won't even glance at you." Humph. After saying that, Lily elegantly flipped her head and cast a disdainful glance at Will Kennedy. Lily said it and did it. Indeed, the whole morning, she didn't look at Will Kennedy or say a word to him. Even though just turning her head or a brief glance could have seen Will Kennedy, she didn't do it. They had been together since they were young, and it wasn't that they hadn't argued before. But these little squabbles always ended with Will Kennedy being the first to apologize. If Lily was truly upset, she would ignore him, wouldn't look at him, and treat him as if he didn't exist. This was the greatest torture for him. Thinking about the inner torment of Will Kennedy at that moment, Lily felt much more relieved. His unusual behavior today deserved punishment. The morning quickly passed, and when school was over, most of the students headed towards the cafeteria. Will Kennedy was no exception. Jia High School was known for being a prestigious school, and even the cafeteria was as luxurious as a 5-star hotel. With just a cold glance sweeping across Lily, she couldn't help but feel an indescribable shock. Did the sun rise from the west today? Lily raised her head, but the sun was still hanging in the east. Could it be that her angry expression wasn't clear enough? She pulled out a small mirror she carried with her and looked into her fiery eyes. No way. This expression could win her the Best Actor award. She was always great at acting this out. Stop, Will Kennedy. You dare ignore me? Lily had no choice but to ask in person. Will Kennedy didn't respond, only standing silently and quickly glancing at Lily from the corner of his eye. That glance was filled with disdain, coldness, and sharpness. There was none of the gentleness and affection that Lily used to receive from him. He pressed his lips together and raised his eyebrows, like the cold moon in the sky, making Lily feel the distance between them was so vast, as if one was in the heavens and the other on earth. Hey, are you crazy? Why are you blocking our young master's way? As a dutiful servant, Cat Tay immediately reacted to the sudden obstacle. He furrowed his brows, glared, and puffed out his chest, showing his fierce stance. A face showing that if you keep pestering, I won't be polite anymore. Lily, shut your mouth for me. Will Kennedy, I'm talking to Lily, why are you butting in? Unexpectedly, Will Kennedy also sided with him. What is going on with this world? Have I treated him too well? To the point that he's forgotten what it feels like to be punished? Lily took a deep breath, removed her shoes, and got to work. She threw the shoes straight at Will Kennedy's head and huffed. Today, no matter what, I'll remind you. This lady can hit when she gets mad. Are we setting a precedent today? But the shoe missed its target, landing right at Will Kennedy's feet. It made Will Kennedy panic and shout as he jumped in fright. Lily felt a bit smug. Although she usually doesn't lose her temper, this move still looked quite impressive. Look at Will Kennedy's face turning a bit pale, the alarm has been sounded. You. Will Kennedy looked at the shoe lying beside his foot. Luckily, this girl doesn't have good aim, or else his head would have been in trouble. How terrifying. He pointed at Lily, too angry to speak. What kind of person is this? He only said a few words, and she carelessly took off her shoe and threw it straight at him. And after hitting him, she didn't feel a bit guilty, standing on one foot on the ground with pride. Will Kennedy, still fuming, picked up the shoe from the ground, ready to strike back. Will Kennedy glared at Lily. Cassie immediately stopped. He knew that the young master didn't want to get entangled with this crazy girl. Let's go. The icy eyes of Will Kennedy narrowed slightly. Will Kennedy was not like Cassie, he could tell that Lily was unintentional. Therefore, he decided to let her go, not allowing Cassie to get involved with her. She was just a girl trying to catch his attention. What? He actually said, go. Normally, wouldn't Will use the softest tone to apologize and beg for Lily, the great lady, to forgive him? How could he just leave like that? Not even trying to coax her, just leaving. Lily was stunned for a moment before coming to her senses. How could Will Kennedy ignore her again? Didn't he notice her anger? Swiftly, Lily took off her other shoe and threw it at Will Kennedy. She wanted to force him to turn back. Lily was following the smooth trajectory of a parabolic arc, just about to reach its end when Will Kennedy caught it with a casual backward grab and threw it away without even glancing at him. Will Kennedy walked away coolly, completely ignoring the voice calling from behind. Barefoot and feeling both angry and wronged, Lily shouted loudly, calling out Will Kennedy's name. He called out so loudly, but it still didn't make Will Kennedy turn around, not even for a second. In disappointment, Lily picked up the discarded shoes, holding them in his hand, and with his bare feet and a complicated feeling in his heart, he slowly walked into the classroom. All the while, he muttered to himself, impossible, impossible. Will Kennedy can't just ignore me like that, there must be something behind this. As soon as he stepped into the classroom, just as expected, Lily immediately saw Will Kennedy sitting at his seat, looking as calm as ever. Will Kennedy rested his chin on one hand, slightly raising an eyebrow, his amber-colored eyes slightly narrowed, his long, fan-like lashes hanging low, giving off an air of indifference and coldness. His gaze never left the pen he was playing with, but there was a chill in his expression. The entire class stared wide-eyed, amazed by Lily's disheveled, barefoot appearance and his large eyes filled with both anger and doubt. The whole class watched intently, their instincts telling them that there was sure to be a good show to watch today. Will Kennedy sat alone, indifferent, with his eyes lowered, not looking at Lily. It seemed as though everything had nothing to do with him. This attitude once again clearly provoked Lily. Holding the two shoes he had just picked up, Lily didn't think twice and immediately hurled them at Will Kennedy with both hands. This had become Lily's signature move. Normally, when Lily threw things with both hands at Will Kennedy, it meant he was very angry and needed an explanation. At this time, Will Kennedy would always let him vent, throwing things at Will. If something broke, they could just buy a new one. The most important thing was to let Lily calm down. But this time was different. Will Kennedy raised his hands lightly and gracefully caught the two flying shoes. He looked at Lily, his amber eyes filled with dead silence, like cold water in a deep valley. If you don't want to wear shoes, I'll help you throw them away. After saying that, Will Kennedy tossed the shoes in a perfect straight line, landing them steadily in the trash bin at the back of the classroom. Some things, when done once, make the other person feel intrigued, twice they might tolerate it, but the third time, they can't stand it anymore. Facing the third pair of shoes thrown his way, Will Kennedy decided not to tolerate Lily any longer, even if it was to get his attention. This is just too much. Will Kennedy, you. Lily, barefoot, walked heavily up to Will Kennedy, her small face flushed with anger. Why? Why does Will Kennedy keep challenging my limits today? Why on earth? Lily carefully observed Will Kennedy, trying to catch some clues from his eyes to explain the unusual behavior today. Will Kennedy's expression was cold, his amber eyes distant and void of warmth, as if what he had just thrown away was nothing but trash. I'm giving you one more chance, Will Kennedy. I don't believe that you can ignore me like this for an entire day. She pulled out a beautiful notebook from her bag and slammed it down on Will Kennedy's desk. Lily raised her eyebrows, her bright eyes full of arrogant pride, and said to Will Kennedy, "Today, you're going to copy the notes for me. If I'm satisfied, I will temporarily forget your rudeness today." Humph, temporarily. We'll still settle this later. Will Kennedy looked at Lily in front of him, naturally asking him to copy the notes, with such a dignified reason. His handsome face instantly stiffened, his eyes filled with disdain, exuding an icy coldness that could pierce through. This strange girl was once again challenging Will Kennedy's limits of patience. It seemed that he had to take some action to make her back off. "Lily, on what grounds do you think I would help you?" Will Kennedy coldly smiled, slightly narrowing his eyes. He picked up the notebook from the table, his icy gaze, as cold as the Arctic, looked down on Lily. Then, he tore the notebook into pieces. The fragments flew up from Will Kennedy's hands, like falling snowflakes, cold and frigid. "Will Kennedy, why did you tear up my notebook?" "Hey, this notebook was the one you personally helped me pick. It even had our Q-version avatars drawn on it. You actually tore it up. You have to compensate me. You will pay for your actions. I will punish you." Lily looked at the scattered pieces of paper, her heart aching. Humph. Lily thought, today she wouldn't pay him any attention anymore. How annoying, how heartbreaking. Just as she was speaking, Lily suddenly paused. Sure enough, she saw Will Kennedy frowning as soon as he heard the word punishment, and his face instantly turned ashen. For this familiar punishment, he still cared a lot. Lily thought about this. A luxurious rose tower crystal chandelier, ivory-colored diamond pattern carved crystal glass tables and chairs, gold-woven country-style floral carpets, large wide-mouthed vases filled with elegant seasonal fresh flowers seen everywhere. The entire cafeteria appeared luxurious yet still retained its elegance. In the hall, there was a dense crowd full of people surging forward, and the arrival of Will Kennedy clearly caused a commotion. Then there were waves of screams followed by the continuous flashing of cameras. "Ah, it's Will Kennedy. It's Will Kennedy. Will Kennedy's face is so cold. But I just like him." The most excited were the girls, gathering in threes and twos, chirping like love-struck fans, and they did not forget to use their passionate gazes to fully worship Will Kennedy. Will Kennedy's eyebrows furrowed tightly, his amber eyes were like an ancient icy lake, deep and unwavering. He shot a sharp glance at the starry-eyed girls, their fiery gazes immediately scattered away, each one shrinking back, leaving a clear path for Will Kennedy. From Will Kennedy's body there occasionally emitted a fearsome aura. Wherever he passed, the girls instinctively took a few steps back, as if fearing that the cold air surrounding Will Kennedy would freeze them into popsicles. The school cafeteria offered a wide variety of dishes. Lily and Will Kennedy were sitting in a restaurant that served both Chinese and Western dishes. Always preferring simple meals, Will Kennedy ordered a plate of mandarin fish and a portion of grilled chicken breast. The main dish was bread, accompanied by a rose-colored soup. There was no appetizer, no dessert, just a glass of ruby-like grape juice. Will Kennedy gracefully lifted the crystal goblet, his slender fingers lightly touching the translucent glass, watching the alluring color of the juice swirl in his hand. His thick eyelashes, under the bright light of the room, cast two captivating shadows. Although his amber eyes lacked warmth, they stirred the hearts of everyone around, sending ripples through the air. Will Kennedy took a small sip of the wine, his actions so elegant and charming that the girls around him swallowed hard in unison. The sound of gulping filled the hall until Lily appeared, and suddenly it stopped. Lily's words were like a spell that sent a shiver down Will Kennedy's spine. As soon as class was over, Lily noticed Will Kennedy rushing toward the cafeteria with a hurried expression. He knew that Will Kennedy needed to go early to help him pick something to eat. After all, he loved food. As long as the food satisfied him, his mood would soften, and once his mood softened, Lily felt her anger towards Will Kennedy dissipate easily. She smiled brightly, thinking that her jar was still as clever as ever. At this moment, Will Kennedy was leisurely eating, without any strange disturbances like in the morning, and he felt incredibly relaxed. But now, that annoying sound reappeared, and Will Kennedy's self-control began to slip. He had always avoided any entanglements, especially with girls. Because of this, he had always remained cold to everyone, and that coldness allowed him to enjoy much peace. But suddenly, someone as presumptuous as Lily had broken through his limits. He kept enduring, hoping she would give up on her own. But why did his cold, piercing gaze send everyone else running away, while Lily seemed utterly unaffected? Maybe her skin was made of pangolin scales. He had rejected her countless times, even tearing her notebook apart, but it only bought him a morning of peace. Will Kennedy realized that he had encountered an exceptionally persistent opponent. He needed to be more decisive. With a strong jab, he speared a piece of chicken breast and put it in his mouth, shaking his head. A dazzling golden light flashed in his amber eyes. Ah, grilled chicken breast, my favorite. Lily sat down calmly across from Will Kennedy. Seeing the food, especially his favorite grilled chicken breast, his mouth started to water. He had no interest in studying Will Kennedy's cold, poker face. This was the signature dish of the cafeteria. Ignoring Will Kennedy, Lily snatched the silver fork from Will Kennedy's hand, picked the best-looking piece of chicken breast, and hurriedly shoved it into his mouth. Delicious and tender. Lily praised, chewing delightfully with oil glistening in his mouth. After finishing one bite, Lily casually grabbed Will Kennedy's grape juice and took a big gulp. What? He was shocked to realize it wasn't the warm grape juice with egg yolk and sugar he liked. Lily's small face immediately fell, and he slammed the cup onto the table. Looking more carefully, he noticed there were no desserts on the table. In the past, Will Kennedy would order apple pie, cream-filled pork fritters, almond syrup pancakes, and many delicious desserts for him. Could it be that they were waiting for him to arrive before ordering? Humph. Lily looked displeased, pushing Will Kennedy as he pouted and said, "Where's the dessert?" "Lily, why hasn't my dessert arrived yet?" "Will Kennedy, I want to eat fruit tea, almond jelly, apple pie, and almond milk." "Lily, pick yourself, Will Kennedy, let me see how you fare." A hint of restrained anger flashed in Lily's eyes. She didn't have time to express her dissatisfaction before Will Kennedy cut her off. Will Kennedy glanced at Lily and clearly stated, "This is my sister, please step aside. I don't want to sit at the same table with you." "Lily, say that again, Will Kennedy." Lily's bright eyes were filled with disbelief, her eyes wide open, her ears standing straight. "I said leave. We have no connection whatsoever, no obligation to help you, please act accordingly." Will Kennedy's words infuriated Lily, especially the sentence, "we have no connection," deeply hurt her. He was her childhood friend, the one who grew up with her, her rightful fiancé. Now, he used such words to wound her. How could he? He was clearly the most important person to her, yet he coldly told her, "We have no connection whatsoever." Episode 6, Lily's hand, holding the glass of grape juice, trembled, her body staggered slightly, a swish sound, bright red liquid, like blood, spilled out. At that moment, Will Kennedy appeared, in his pristine white shirt. Will Kennedy looked at the grape juice stains on his shirt with displeasure. He was someone who loved cleanliness. This sudden incident made his handsome face darken considerably. His amber eyes carried an uncontrollable fury rolling beneath the surface. It was utterly incomprehensible, that someone dared to throw grape juice at him, absolutely unforgivable. Enough! Will Kennedy shouted, showing no concern for the shock and pain in Lily's eyes. He grabbed her hand and flung it away forcefully, then stood up with an elegant posture. The dashing man dramatically pulled the tablecloth, sending broth, salmon, chicken breast, and wine splashing all over Lily. Oh my! Our cold prince actually got angry. And that girl, she really has thick skin. The cold prince clearly doesn't care about her. Lily still stuck like glue, refusing to let go. Boy C had already finished taking notes but still hadn't come to his senses. At this moment, Will Kennedy was truly furious. Oh my God, he used red wine, he splashed grape juice on Will Kennedy. Will Kennedy, the coldest prince in the whole school. Is he tired of living? He deserved it. Just seeing his arrogant attitude this morning was enough to feel annoyed. He deserved to be humiliated so miserably. Yeah. Look at how ridiculous he looks, like a drenched chicken. Ha! The students around were all eagerly waiting for the show. Seeing Lily in such a miserable state, no one could hold back their mocking words and laughter. It was like annoying flies buzzing around Lily's ears, never going away. Will Kennedy stood there, looking down at Lily from above. His amber eyes were as cold as the moonlight. Under the lights, he appeared handsome and indifferent. It was a coldness that radiated from deep within his bones. Don't let me see you again. Will Kennedy's voice was firm and strong, carrying a chilling frost. Lily stood there, seemingly petrified, unmoving. The gaze he gave Will Kennedy shifted from shock to something more tense and frightening. It took a long while before he could react. Lily faced the departing figure of Will Kennedy, stomping his foot in frustration. Will Kennedy, I'm going to find Dad and Mom Kwan, I'll tell them you bullied me. You bullied me. Without even changing clothes, Lily walked out of the school all dirty, ignoring the sideways glances from others, and not caring about their whispers. Just watch, just talk, the more people know, the better. That will be solid proof that Will Kennedy bullied me. I must tell Dad and Mom Kwan to get justice for me. This jar dares to bully me like this, I must let Dad Kwan help me teach him a lesson. Humph. With Dad Kwan's temper, he'll definitely make Will Kennedy apologize to me, then lock him in a room for 3 days and nights without food. Lily, cheeks puffed with anger, ran all the way to Will Kennedy's house. Will Kennedy's house was a typical European-style mansion, with a classical golden pancake-like building, walls built with 2-colored bricks, and brilliant stained glass. Besides the fountain and the beautiful large garden, there was a unique statue at the gate. 2 tall oak trees, seemingly made of snow, with white leaves and silver wreaths. Beneath the oak trees stood Diana, the goddess of the moon from Greek mythology. Behind Diana, a thick and long silver iron plate was discreetly hung. The 10 silver rings above were lined up in a straight row from top to bottom. This was the unique code of the Will Kennedy family, the heavenly door of the Will Kennedy household. The 10 silver rings represented 10 numbers, and by pulling them in sequence, the hidden door would automatically open. Every time Lily visited the Will Kennedy residence, he was enchanted by this romantic mechanism. Pull a ring, and the secret door would open. However, only a few people knew about this secret. When Lily walked effortlessly through the garden and reached the front of the house, he startled Cassie, who was shocked to see him dirty and standing before him. How did you get in? Cassie looked at the filthy Lily in front of him, instinctively glancing down at his foot that was almost hit by something earlier that morning. Looking around, finding no tools for self-defense, Cassie mimicked Lily, took off his own shoe and held it in his hand, pretending to look fierce. I just walked in, what's the big deal? This isn't my first time here, Lily smiled and handed Cassie a large mothball. But. Cassie was about to mention that the front door was locked, so how did he get in? But clearly, Lily wasn't in the mood for small talk. With a bright smile, Lily cheerfully shouted, "Hello Papa Kwan." "Hello Mama Kwan." After finishing dinner, Father Kwan and Mother Kwan were chatting in the living room when they suddenly heard someone speaking. They looked up and saw a beaming Lily with rosy cheeks and a bright smile. "Oh, whose child is this, so adorable?" Mother Kwan was fond of Lily's round face and big eyes, but when her gaze shifted downward, she noticed the oil-stained clothes. Her expression changed slightly, and she immediately felt pity for the girl. Mother Kwan's gaze toward Lily softened with a hint of sympathy. Lily saw that look and thought that Mother Kwan understood she had been bullied by Will Kennedy. She immediately pouted, her eyes filled with tears, and she ran to Mother Kwan to complain, "Mother Kwan, today Will Kennedy has been bullying Lily. He didn't even take Lily to school, and he refused to help Lily copy notes. During dinner, just because Lily said a few words, he got mad and threw all the food at me. Humph, you have to stand up for Lily, Will Kennedy is bullying me too much." Lily sobbed, her tears swirling in her eyes before finally breaking like a dam and streaming down. At first, Lily just wanted to put on a little act, reddening her eyes and keeping her tears in check, which would have been enough. But as she spoke, she thought more about Will Kennedy's heartless behavior that morning, and her heart grew even heavier with sadness. Lily could no longer suppress the discomfort. Kwan Ba and Kwan Mi exchanged confused looks. Facing Lily, who burst in crying uncontrollably, they didn't know what to do. Maybe she found the wrong person, they thought, but why did she act so familiar? Both of them were puzzled. "Who is this young lady?" Kwan Mi awkwardly asked. "Kwan Mi. It's me, Lily." Kwan Mi's question instantly stopped Lily's sobbing. Her tear-streaked face looked pitiful. "Miss Duong, is there something you need?" Kwan Mi asked politely, but this politeness also represented distance, making Lily feel very uncomfortable. "Kwan Mi, Will Kennedy bullied me. Look at this, he dirted my clothes. Will Kennedy even tore my notebook." Lily puffed her chest, pointing at the stain on her clothes, her small lips pouting in anger. Kwan Mi glanced at the expensive dress Lily was wearing, a brand she was very familiar with. She gave Kwan Ba a knowing look. It seemed their son had caused trouble for this young lady at school, and now she had come to their home. She truly wasn't one to take any losses. Kwan Mother's affection for Lily suddenly diminished. At this moment, Cassie rushed in and interrupted, "Madam, it's her. This morning, she tried to throw a shoe at me, and even threw one at the young master. Such an arrogant lady." Kwan Mother's face immediately darkened after hearing Cassie's words. She knew her own son well, he never liked to get involved with others. Now they were saying he bullied someone. It was likely she had started the trouble herself. Thinking of this, Kwan Mother politely said, "Miss Duong, here's some money, consider it compensation for your clothes. As for the matter between Will Kennedy and Miss Duong, let's just let it go." Looking at Kwan Mother's distant smile and the money handed over, Lily felt like she was about to go crazy. What on earth was happening? Wasn't Kwan Mother always the one who loved her the most? Even when she knew she was wrong, she would still scold Will Kennedy severely. How could things be like this now? "Kwan Mother, I'm Lily. I'm Lily." Lily urgently shouted. "Miss Duong, I believe my wife has made herself quite clear. Please leave now." Kwan Father hesitated for a moment but couldn't help but speak. Why was everyone looking at her like she was a stranger? Lily was so anxious that her small face turned bright red. Lily anxiously said, You all, why are you acting like this? It's as if you don't know me at all." Lily's words made Will Kennedy somewhat displeased. With his position, he often encountered people approaching their family for various reasons. But someone as genuine and natural as Lily was a first for him. Truly, a master of acting. With this thought, his tone became more rigid. "Miss Duong, we really don't know you. Please leave." "What? Lily froze, lifting her eyes to look at Will Kennedy, hoping to find a hint of jest in his words. But Will Kennedy was completely serious. After knowing him for over 10 years, Lily knew that he would never lie. So, he truly didn't recognize her. Unwilling to accept this, Lily turned to Kwon mother, her eyes filled with humble hope. Mom. Mom, you don't recognize me, Lily, either. Those bright, black eyes held a softness that made others hesitate to touch. Kwon mother almost said she recognized her, but after thinking carefully, she shook her head and honestly said, Miss Duong, I really don't know you. After stepping out of Will Kennedy's house, Lily looked utterly devastated. Father Kwon and Mother Kwon, even Father Duong and Mother Duong, didn't recognize her. Let alone the fact that she was the daughter of their close family friend. Sa Te Phuong Tu and Tatan also had no recollection of her, nor did they remember that she had ever helped them. She had vanished from the memories of everyone in Will Kennedy's house. How could it be so strange? When Lily returned home, her beautiful mother was lazily lounging on the sofa, admiring her freshly done nails. Lily is back, come and see if mommy's nails are pretty. Mother Duong proudly lifted her elegant swan-like neck, her expression full of pride, extending her 2 hands towards Lily. Mom. Lily lowered her head, having no mood to admire Mother Duong's nails. Questions swirled in her mind, intertwining like a secret net that tightly trapped her, leaving her unable to move. What's wrong, Lily? Are you feeling down? Mother Duong finally shifted her gaze from her beautiful nails to Lily's wrinkled, gloomy face. Mom, do you know Will Kennedy? Lily asked, as if a drowning person had suddenly grabbed hold of a floating piece of wood. Lily's eyes lit up. She suddenly thought that her mother must know about Will Kennedy. After all, she was the one who made the engagement promise when they were just children. Who is Will Kennedy? Is he a new rising star? Why don't I know anything about him? Oh my, I haven't watched entertainment news today. Duong Mi blinked, thought for a moment, then suddenly shouted. Stop joking, Mom. I'm seriously asking you. Please answer me seriously. Faced with such a response from her mother, Lily felt like she was about to explode. Alright, I'll tell you. Who is Will Kennedy? Have I met him before? Seeing her daughter getting upset, Duong Mi quickly responded seriously, he. Her expression didn't seem like she was joking. Could it be that Mom also forgot about Will Kennedy? He's the son of the chairman of Kwon Corporation. He was my classmate, and also my childhood sweetheart and fiancé. Ah! Duong Mi screamed, her eyes wide as she stared at Lily, her gaze full of surprise. After a long while, Duong Mi laughed uncontrollably, pointing at Lily and saying, Sweetie, what fiancé? Haha, my dear has finally grown up. Lily suddenly realized her pale face. Her eyes, which were once as clear as water, were now brimming with tears. Her thick eyelashes fluttered slightly, instantly covered by a misty haze. Duong Mi's heart clenched, and in a panic, she grabbed a tissue to wipe Lily's face. Sweetheart, have you taken a liking to that boy Will Kennedy? Don't cry. Although the Duong family and the Kwon family don't have much business together, if you like their son, I'll ask your father to see if there's a project the company can collaborate on with Kwon Corporation. That way, we can set you two up. How does that sound? Duong Mi said cheerfully, making a heart shape with her hands. Dear listeners, this episode has come to an end. Thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode produced by Swan. Lu Van Hoa, with the story Sweetie's Candy Castle, written by Kin Sarah John Hong and narrated by Tu M, Episode 7. Each word from Duong Mi was like an exploding missile in Lily's mind, leaving her head spinning and filled with echoes. Why have you all forgotten? Tears fell from Lily like a waterfall. Lily felt as if something inside him had been completely hollowed out, a void that couldn't be described. All the blood in his body seemed to freeze in an instant. Why had everyone forgotten about Will Kennedy? He was Will Kennedy, a man of dignity and stature. Even Will Kennedy himself had forgotten who he was. Lily silently pushed Mother Duong away, turning slowly and walking upstairs alone. Yesterday was his birthday, a day he could never forget, because he had received candy personally made by Will Kennedy. The castle, so luxurious and magnificent, was like heaven, making him feel like he was floating among the clouds. But today, for Lily, yesterday felt like hell. It was a pain filled with despair. The candy castle still stood in his room, glowing with a rainbow of colors under the bright lights. And the bottle of love water was placed neatly at the entrance of the castle. Inside the transparent crystal glass, the soft pink liquid shimmered as if it had life, flowing slowly. What love water? And what nonsense about never parting again if you possess it? Lily muttered angrily. Suddenly, a flash of realization hit him. The candy castle, the tears of an angel in the love water, and the strange dream from last night. In the dream, there was a magical candy castle, and Figaro, who wore a black hat. Lily always longed for the happiness he had desired. In his dream, images of magic and miracles resurfaced in his memory. He heard the voice of Will Kennedy and the sound of the magical spell echoing, seeing the golden scepter shimmering with dazzling light. Candy Sprite, heed my call. Whoever deciphers happiness shall face severe punishment. Child, love has caused you pain. If you forget, you will grow golden wings again and be blessed by the gods. Will Kennedy's spell clearly echoed in Lily's ears, reminding him that he had lost the most precious thing, the magical jar. Because of Will Kennedy's spell, the jar forgot everything, even him. Lily felt his heart ache. The jar that was destined to take care of and love him for a lifetime had vanished. Lily couldn't accept this, he didn't want his happiness to become an unattainable luxury. As night slowly fell, Lily was restless, tossing and turning, unable to sleep, his mind repeatedly thinking about everything that had happened in the dream. Lily stood in front of the candy castle, tightly holding the bottle of angel's tears, waiting for the miracle to come at 12 o'clock. As the bell rang, could it really take him to the candy castle? If so, he was determined to ask Will Kennedy for clarification about everything that had happened. Why had everyone forgotten the past of Lily and Will Kennedy? The clock's hand on the wall slowly moved, inching closer to 12 o'clock. When Lily woke up, he found himself in a strange place. There were no beautiful gardens, nor lush green meadows. The entire world was filled only with the darkness of leaves and the silver light of the moon. He lay on a small hill, below him was a soft field of green grass. The full moon hung high in the sky, its silver light gently spilling across the grassy field around him. Transparent, silver-white flowers dotted the green grass like stars. The night breeze softly swept across, causing gentle ripples through the sea of flowers, while the long grass blades shimmered with threads of silver light. At the bottom of the hill was a dense black forest. Tall carbonwood trees blended into the night, forming an impenetrable cage. The only source of light in the forest was a beautiful lake. It looked like a large transparent crystal emitting a strange cold light. Moonlight sprinkled on the lake's surface, covering the lake with a thin layer of silver gauze, dreamlike and illusory. Where is this? Lily rubbed his eyes confused as he gazed at everything in front of him in his memory. The candy castle was colorful, filled with a sweet atmosphere, but everything here Lily was certain was real. Though the grass was still soft, it was definitely not Turkish delight. The flowers, though fragrant, were not chocolate or any kind of sweet scent, but rather the rich aroma of pollen. How could this be? He had clearly followed Phi Gia Lax's instructions. The midnight chime at 12 o'clock. The candy castle, the angel's tear. Nothing was wrong, he. The blue-haired witch dressed in a lavish floor-length gown. Will Kennedy looked through the crystal ball, seeing the bewildered expression of Lily. Her jade-like face curved into a sinister smile. The then mock forest was a forbidden area of the candy castle, but to most people it was more like a labyrinth. Everything here was only in two colors, black and white. Lily stared into the eternal darkness before him. Thousands of years ago, the angel's resentment had turned into the Tam mock forest. The angel's sorrowful tears transformed into the jars of tears in the forest. Tam Mok forest could stir the hatred within people's hearts, and the jars of tears would remind them of their deepest sorrows. Lamb despised those who didn't cherish love the most. Lily sought to enter the Candy Castle to find a way to break Will Kennedy's curse, but he had to face numerous trials to succeed. Only those with sincerity and determination would be given a chance. And the labyrinth-like Tam Mok forest would be Lily's first challenge. When Lily stepped out of the Tam Mok forest, he would encounter someone with a strange smile. Lisa waved her hand slightly, closing the crystal ball. A haunting tune echoed, "Fee, Fee, Figaro Figaro, where are you?" Lily suppressed the fear rising within him as he ran up and down the hillside, screaming loudly. But even after he was out of breath and drenched in sweat, no answer came. He didn't know how much time had passed when Lily finally saw the heavy night gradually envelop him. The sky was pitch black, and a faint moonbeam filtered through the thick clouds, casting a weak light down. The night became so quiet that even the sound of the wind could hardly be heard. Lily was both scared and lonely, her heart trembling with nervous unease. She slowly, very slowly, moved toward the only place where a faint glimmer of light pierced the darkness. "I'm a good person, I haven't done anything bad, I only bully Will Kennedy. So, demons and monsters, please don't come after me." Lily clenched her coat tightly, trembling uncontrollably, her face as pale as chalk, muttering under her breath. It took her great effort to reach the edge of the lake. The cold breeze that hit her made the surrounding temperature drop by several degrees instantly. What was even more terrifying was that just one glance at the lake water brought an overwhelming sadness to Lily's heart. The pain and sorrow she had temporarily forgotten flooded back all at once, transforming into trembling tears at the corner of her eyes. In Lily's mind, only the image of Will Kennedy's cold face lingered, his icy gaze toward her, and the cruelty with which he tore apart the notebook and mocked her by overturning the table. Will Kennedy had completely forgotten her now, ha ha ha, Will Kennedy, Will Kennedy, Will Kennedy. Lily's helpless tears streamed down, her pale face filled with natural despair under the dark night sky. Misty moonlight dreamlike lake, a heartbroken girl weeping. These elements painted such a sorrowful picture that anyone who saw it would be drawn into sadness, unwilling to interrupt. Yet, there are always those who enjoy spoiling the scene and disturbing others' thoughts. "Hey, you dumb human, what are you crying here for?" A very arrogant, obnoxious, and extremely annoying voice rudely interrupted. Lily had been very sad, but suddenly this irritating voice broke her mood. She wiped away her tears, raised her hand, her crimson lips bitten tightly between two rows of teeth. She glared around with her big eyes, looking fiercely at everything around her. Strange, Lily's fiery gaze swept back and forth but couldn't spot the source. Where did the voice come from? Could it have been a hallucination? Oh my God, this is so scary. Lily covered her ears in fear, tightly closing her eyes. Ha 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 ha. Another burst of wild laughter. It seemed like something brushed lightly against Lily's nose, mischievously teasing her nostrils. Achoo! Unable to resist the tickle, Lily let out a big sneeze. Oh, it's so dirty. That voice called out again. Lily immediately opened her eyes. A small creature, who hadn't had time to hide, appeared right in front of Lily. Oh my God, Lily actually saw a fairy. A fairy only the size of a palm, completely covered in snow white, like snowflakes falling in the bright moonlight. The fairy had two soft, velvety wings gently fluttering, hovering above Lily. He had long silver hair, loosely draped behind his back. His skin was smooth and white, with deep black eyes like obsidian, drawing anyone who looked into them into an irresistible attraction. His straight nose and slightly parted thin lips, pink like rose petals, were radiant and delicate. That exquisite face was so beautiful that it made others envious. Lily didn't even dare to breathe too loudly, afraid of scaring away the beautiful fairy. Although only the size of a palm, the fairy's clothes were meticulously crafted and incredibly refined. His silver sarine shirt was adorned with delicate silver buttons and intricately embroidered with fine silver threads. The cuffs were decorated with lace woven from silver threads, and the buttons were silver with pearl inlays. The entire outfit looked luxurious and elegant. The miniature collar revealed an elegant neckline and a delicate collarbone. Large patches of Lily's fair skin shimmered under the moonlight with a blood-like glow. She wore slender, snow-white velvet pants that hugged her figure, paired with calfskin ankle boots of the same color. Her dragonfly-like wings fluttered gracefully like clouds, interwoven with delicate, leaf-like green veins, and speckled with glowing pollen, perhaps accidentally picked up from flower stamens. Lily stood frozen, staring in awe at this perfect creature. The creature raised its pointed chin, fluttering its thick, fan-like lashes and wings, flying back and forth before Lily. "Are you stunned?" Seeing Lily maintain the same dumbfounded expression for a while, the elf couldn't help but speak. This was the first time he had seen a human girl. When he saw her cover her ears and close her eyes in fear, he found it incredibly amusing. "Who are you?" The elf's voice was so pleasant, like a rich wine that intoxicated the listener. Lily was awakened by the elf's beautiful voice, finally blinking, though still in shock. A creature this small? Am I dreaming? Did I really just meet an elf? And this elf is so beautiful. Especially when the elf gazed intently at her, his bright eyes sparkled like hidden gems at the bottom of a lake. "Is there something special about you?" The elf clapped his hands joyfully. Lily carefully examined Lily from head to toe again before answering, "I am Carlo, did you hear? My name is Carlo." "Wow, Carlo, are you an elf?" Lily raised his round, rosy little face, and his eyes were filled with bubbles of curiosity. He especially liked Carlo's wings and really wanted to reach out and touch them. Under the moonlight, Carlo looked like thin snow, making one worry that he might suddenly melt or disappear. "No, no." Carlo shook his small head vigorously from side to side. "Then what are you?" Lily felt his brain, which had just cleared up, becoming muddled again. He started worrying if he was hearing or seeing things. Habitually, he reached out to grab the jar next to him, but his hand hovered in midair. Lily then realized there was no jar beside him. He had no choice but to pinch his own face hard. Ouch! So this is what it feels like to be pinched. But before, the jar never cared. It always presented its white porcelain face, allowing him to knead and mold it. Looking at the jar's always happy smiling face, Lily never thought that the face being tormented could hurt like this. "Sorry, jar." Episode 8, the expression on Lily's face turned gloomy, he once again sank into sadness. Even the elegance of the elf Prince Carlo couldn't arouse any interest in him. "Hey, human." Lily was feeling down, when Carlo, like a child who lost his toy, became restless, flapping his wings non-stop. "I have a name, my name is Lily," Lily said weakly. "Hey, human." Carlo seemed not to hear, continuing to call Lily human, in his own way. "I told you, I have a name." Lily got angry, raising his hand to smack Carlo on the head. "Hey, human. How dare you hit me? Do you know that I am the noble Prince Carlo?" "No, I don't," Lily rolled his eyes, looking at Carlo's arrogant pose. You rude human. No wonder you were abandoned in Tomb Exploration Forest." "Humph." Carlo fluttered his wings and landed on top of Lily's head, and to vent his frustration, he stomped hard on Lily's head. Ouch! Lily wasn't afraid either, letting Carlos play around on his head until Carlos jumped up, drenched in sweat. Only then did he sigh a bit sympathetically. He said, "Carlos, don't you know you weigh nothing? Even a feather weighs more than you, and yet, you're still stamping your feet there." As soon as Lily finished speaking, Carlo's small face immediately fell. A trace of sadness filled his eyes. His voice as light as air floated up. "I forgot, this is not my real body then. What are you?" As Carlos floated away from his head, Lily hurried to fix his messy hair. I'm just a condensed body attracted by the sorrow from the angel's tears in the tear urn. I kept lingering inside it, gradually condensing into a form, turning into a spirit under the moonlight, as soft as water. Carlos' entire being appeared pure and cold, his semi-transparent body ethereal and unreal. Sorrow flowed silently, stirring up an unspeakable bitterness. Poor Carlos. Lily gently touched Carlos' body with a tissue. What's wrong with you? My real body was sealed by a witch, that wretched witch. Even I, Carlos the prince, wasn't spared. Who is the witch? Lily asked in confusion. Humph. Carlo gritted his teeth and added, yes, it's the Candy Castle. The one who has the right to punish. Everyone who makes a mistake won't escape his punishment. The one who has the right to punish those who make mistakes. No. Lily immediately perked up, his big watery eyes filled with hope. Have you been sealed? Where? How can the curse be broken? Does the witch know how to break the curse? Carlo gave Lily a look as if to say, you're so stupid, unwilling to answer such a simple question. Lily fawningly shouted, Carlo, your Highness, Carlo, your Highness, please tell me, won't you? Carlo was quite pleased with Lily's way of addressing him, and so he began a long speech. The witch is the omnipotent god of Candy Castle, and the only ruler there. There are two witches, one is Lisa, who has the power of punishment, and the other is Sarah, who has the power of forgiveness. Lisa has a strange temper, while Sarah is very gentle. Lisa is lazy, but Sarah is very hard-working. Get to the point. Get to the point. Lily impatiently interrupted. Carlo rambled on about the witches without even touching on how to break the curse, which Lily couldn't help but remind, hey. Lily was already a bit tired. Honestly, he wasn't interested in Carlo's story. He only cared about the jar and how to break the curse on it. Therefore, when Carlo spoke at length, Lily's ears skillfully adopted an automatic filtering strategy. But to avoid angering the proud prince, he occasionally responded with oh and the sounds. Until he heard Carlo mention that there was a mysterious room in the witch's house, where all those who had made mistakes and were cursed by her were trapped, only to be released when their time was up. At this point, Lily's eyes lit up, and his weariness vanished. Carlo, can you break the curse ahead of time? Seeing the urgency in Lily's eyes, Carlo's face immediately flushed red. He hadn't expected Lily to care about him so much. Carlo felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. That just requires the witch's approval. So that's how it is. As long as we find the witch, we can find a way to break the curse on the jar. Lily shouted, Jar, I'm coming for you. For you, I'm not afraid of anything. Carlo's face, already flushed, grew even redder after hearing Lily's words. Immediately, it was like dark clouds pressing down, with anger rolling in the eyes, as if in the blink of an eye, lightning and thunder would strike, and a torrential downpour would fall. Who is Will Kennedy? Carlo's eyes were sharp. Will Kennedy is the person I like the most. He too was cursed. Thank you, Carlo. Carlo told him the way to break the curse. Lily was truly grateful. Being ignored by someone, he was very angry, very angry. The key thing was that Lily didn't realize it, and kept fearlessly asking, how can I meet the witch? Just leave the Taimok forest, and you'll see her. Great! Lily shouted, dancing with excitement as he ran deeper into the forest. Not only did he ignore him, but he also forgot to say thanks and goodbye. You'll come back. Carlo angrily shouted at Lily's retreating figure, huh? Why is there a lake here too? It looks like Lou Lake. After running a long distance, he came across another beautiful lake. Lily was astonished, huh? Why is there another lake? After going around again, Lily was confused, huh? Lily still saw a lake. What? This is clearly Lou Lake. After the nth attempt, Lily realized he was just walking in circles. He tried countless methods, throwing stones, stargazing, looking for ants, but no matter what he did, he always ended up back at the original Lu Lake. Carlo, come out. Exhausted, Lily had no choice but to call for help from Carlo. Carlo, who had been watching the whole time, finally heard Lily's call and lazily made his way over. Why can't I get out of here? Lily panted, his speech broken. This is a maze, after all. It's not that easy to get out, Carlo laughed brightly. Then, why didn't you tell me earlier? Lily nearly cried in frustration. You didn't ask me. You ran off without even saying a word. Carlo pouted, his tone a bit resentful. I'm sorry, I got too excited and forgot. I guess I was a bit careless. Lily apologized, feeling embarrassed. Humph, this prince isn't that petty. Carlo waved his hand generously at Lily, acting as if it didn't matter. Prince Carlo, how can we get out of the tomb exploration forest? Lily carefully asked, really? I will tell you the method, but you must help me break the witch's curse. Moreover, you must promise me, save me first, then save your jar. Carlo pondered for a moment and then set the condition. But how can I break the curse? Doesn't it require the witch's consent? Lily was puzzled. You just need to go to the witch, find me, and then break the curse with a passionate kiss. Carlo's eyes held a glimmer of hope. Oh, okay then. No matter what, let's promise first. Once I get out of this forest, I'll deal with it. But you must not break the promise. In the Candy Castle, if you break a promise, you will turn into a nightingale that keeps singing until your voice goes hoarse. Carlo said seriously, as if he had already seen through the reluctance in Lily's eyes. Oh my, what a terrifying punishment. Hearing this, Lily trembled and nodded quickly, showing the determination to keep the promise. Carlo smiled warmly, a smile that could melt ice. Lily, following Carlo's instructions, sincerely thought about the jar, determined to save it no matter what. And then just kept crying non-stop. Tears flowed like an endless river, all pouring down onto the soil of the charcoal forest. Sure enough, a miracle appeared, like a beautiful Milky Way falling to the earth. That brilliant and dazzling light made the twinkling stars in the night suddenly lose their shine. In the once pitch-dark forest, a small winding path resembling the Milky Way suddenly appeared. Is this the way? Lily asked. Carlo nodded. Then, I'm leaving. Looking at Carlo, Lily suddenly felt a bit reluctant. After all, this was the first person in Candy Castle who treated him well. Carlo's body was born from the Lake of Tears, and so could not leave it. He couldn't accompany Lily out of the charcoal forest. The first human he met was about to leave, and he would once again live alone, lonely in the forest. Carlo also felt a bit melancholy. Lily, everyone's curse is different, and the way to break it is different, too. It's not as simple as you think. After you meet the witch, ask her. This foolish human always thinks he's clever, but in truth, he knows nothing. Yet, his heart is very sincere. Carlo couldn't help but remind him. Yeah, Carlo. Lily said, I will definitely keep my promise, help you break the curse. Alright, Will Kennedy responded, I'll wait for you. This promise and the glowing path ahead filled Lily with new vitality. With his fondness for the jar and his promise to Carlo, he followed the winding little path. When he finally reached the end, a beautiful maiden appeared before him, looking just like a noblewoman from the Middle Ages. She had long, sea-blue hair, topped with a luxurious triangular hat adorned with ostrich feathers. She wore a long, pale yellow silk dress, decorated with delicate golden pleats and bows. On her chest, vivid roses were embroidered with golden thread. The grand crinoline lifted the skirt high, with intricate lace and round pearls embellishing it, making her look both magnificent and graceful. The soft morning light shone on the gorgeous maiden's face, highlighting her elfin, exquisite beauty. The light shimmered, sometimes bright, sometimes faint, as if coated with a layer of silver, casting an irresistibly enchanting allure around her, as though magic had descended. "Who are you?" Lily asked in confusion as he gazed at the maiden before him. Hadn't Carlos said that once he walked out of the tomb exploration forest, he would meet a witch? But now, he couldn't reconcile the stunning girl before him with the image of a witch. Lily contacted Will Kennedy, Carlo, and the witch. In his impression, witches should be old women wearing pointed hats, cloaked in black, and riding on a tattered broomstick. "I am," the young girl cast a flirtatious glance at Lily, extending her slender arm, revealing a pair of white lace gloves. The girl seemed to want to touch Lily's lips, but since the distance wasn't enough, she had to take a few steps forward. Who would have thought that it was her first time wearing high heels, and she accidentally stepped on her dress. With a spectacular stumble, she fell awkwardly to the ground. The beautiful hat fell off, revealing her disheveled blue hair. The noble young lady who screamed was none other than Lisa. She had planned to make a stylish appearance in front of Lily, but who knew she would mess up, driving her crazy. When she got up, there was no trace of nobility left, her hair was like tangled weeds, and her dress was covered in mud. "I told you to keep it simple. You don't know how to wear high heels, yet you insisted on showing off." Will Kennedy sighed. "But on TV, big characters always make grand entrances." Lisa retorted, but also felt frustrated. "Why does it never work for me?" Lily failed, truly failed. Lily looked at the girl in front of her, muttering to herself in two tones. From elegant to extremely vulgar, her eyes widened bigger than copper bells. Dear listeners, this episode has concluded. Thank you for listening. Lin-Lisa Sat-Sarah Na-John Quan Tu Nak Will Kennedy Duong Lily Ton Mok Tomb Exploration. Lily cautiously asked, "May I ask?" "What?" Lisa turned her head, her face full of displeasure. "May I ask, are you a witch?" Lily felt cold sweat running down his back, silently praying that this strange girl wasn't the witch he was searching for. Hee, Lisa smiled mysteriously. "Please, tell me." Lily's eyes were sincere, full of hope. "I understand your sincerity. Without it, you wouldn't have been able to escape the tomb exploration forest. This forest has no paths, only tears of sincerity can carve a way out. Because you truly miss Will Kennedy and are desperate to save him, your tears formed the path." Lisa's violet eyes, rarely soft, held a hint of gentleness. "You know Will Kennedy?" Lily was ecstatic, grabbing Lisa's hand as he continued to shout, "Ah, so you must be the witch." "Of course. Who else but me, someone with both stunning beauty, unmatched intelligence, and a fair heart, could be worthy of being a witch?" Lisa winked smugly. "Then, tell me what happened to Will Kennedy. Why doesn't he recognize Lily anymore? Why has everyone forgotten about me and Will Kennedy?" Lily anxiously asked, tears welling up in his eyes. Lisa ran her fingers through her hair, adjusting her elegant posture, and said, "Will Kennedy has been cursed by Fialo, which is why he's forgotten you. In the real world, all memories of the two of you have completely disappeared." "Humph. Not just the memories, there are even more dreadful things I haven't told you about. You'd better prepare yourself for punishment." "So, how can the curse be lifted?" Lily trembled as he asked again. "Well." Lisa glanced down at her long gown, "This is so annoying. This gown is too heavy. The magic is squeezing my waist so tightly. Come along, help me carry my dress." "But you still haven't told me how to break the curse." Lily didn't dare argue, immediately running after Lisa and carefully lifting her dress. After all, Will Kennedy was in her hands. With the burden lightened, Lisa walked gracefully, leading the way home. Lily followed behind, naturally becoming her servant. Lisa agreed that if Lily completed all the household chores and satisfied her, she would reveal the way to break the curse. Having a servant is truly wonderful, Lisa thought. No need to argue with Sarah anymore, nor waste energy using spells to make Sarah do the work. After all, Sarah shared the same body with her, so even after tasks were done, she still felt tired. Lisa was quite proud of her cleverness, both training Lily and creating benefits for herself. However, things didn't always go as smoothly as Lisa had hoped. One by one, the bows fell to the ground. Why had her beautiful bows turned into ugly, tangled knots? Why? Lisa could only scream in frustration. I just wanted to clean it properly, but I was too careful. Lily bit his lip, awkwardly replying, his hands nervously digging into his fingernails. In truth, the dress was too delicate, unable to withstand any pressure. Lily kept scrubbing it, and in the process, all the lace, pearls, and bows fell off. To fix it, he carefully sewed the bows back on. He thought to himself, I was really careful, washing it over and over, until my hands were sore. Lisa held the ruined dress in her hands, her heart shattering with every ripped stitch. Lily was then tasked with cleaning the living room. Whether Lisa had done it on purpose or the room was already a mess, there were snacks scattered all over the floor. Take the chocolate-covered peanuts, for example. Lisa only ate the peanuts and spat out the chocolate. What a waste! Lisa leisurely went to take a bath, and afterward, walked barefoot across the soft carpet. 1 step, 2 steps, something didn't feel right. There was a sticky sensation underfoot. Lisa lifted her fair, smooth foot and screamed, "What is this?" Lily hurried over, knelt down to look, and grabbed a rag to try wiping the carpet. But the more he scrubbed, the more the stains spread across the green rug. After a moment of examining the mess, Lily hesitantly murmured in a voice as small as a whisper, "I think, it's chocolate." Chocolate? Lisa felt her head swell. It had taken all her patience to keep calm, and now her anger exploded again. "How exactly did you clean the floor?" Lily blushed, embarrassed, raising the rag in his hand as he answered, "I used the rag, but I was really serious. I wasn't lazy at all, and I scrubbed very hard, oh my goodness." Lisa groaned, almost fainting on the spot. Given that Lisa's lavish menu was far too complicated for a mere mortal, Lily nervously picked up the recipe and tried to follow it. The clatter of broken dishes echoed through the room, and Lisa rushed over, yelling, "My Kanduk Tran porcelain." Looking around, the floor was covered with shards. It was the precious porcelain set Lisa had chosen while traveling with John to Kanduk Tran. Her treasured items were now reduced to fragments. Then she turned to Lily, who was covered in flour, holding something charred black in his hands, excitedly saying, "I finally did it. Look, here's the bread. It may not look great, but I swear it's edible." Lily sheepishly broke the blackened bread in half, revealing a gooey yellow filling inside. "You think this is edible?" Lisa was utterly shocked, nearly fainting. After learning from this painful experience, Lisa decided to let Lily choose his own assistant. To help Lisa complete the duties of a servant, Lily was led to a mysterious place within Lisa's house. It was where all those who were punished were imprisoned. Lisa brought Lily to the front of a house that looked like an enormous ivory jewelry box. The outer walls were primarily made of snow-white marble, adorned with intricate carvings and paired with brightly colored stained glass windows. Everything exuded luxury, with gold and silver as the main themes, accompanied by exquisitely detailed decorations on the doors. The roof and domed ceiling were embellished in vivid crimson, making the entire house look incredibly lavish, majestic, and breathtakingly beautiful. The oak fan-shaped door was further decorated with pure gold bronze plates, engraved with complex spells. Despite its elegant design, the house radiated an air of mystery and enchantment. "What is this place? It's so strange." Lily couldn't hold back his curiosity. "Don't ask. You'll know once you're inside," Lisa replied coldly, her voice so chilling that it made Lily shudder. "Ucadniga way," Lisa muttered a spell, and the door creaked open. As they stepped inside, Lily felt as though he had entered a magnificent palace. The dark blue ceiling was encrusted with shimmering jewels, illuminating the room even in the darkest night. The luxurious pale pink velvet curtains, trimmed with gold and silver, gave the space a soft yet regal touch. The stained glass windows reflected the light from the gemstones, casting an enchanting glow. Beneath the windows stood an enormous marble table, draped with a gold-fringed tablecloth, covered with large crystal dishes and silver plates. All around the room were lifelike statues of people in various poses and expressions, some surprised, others worried, and still others looking deeply sorrowful. These statues. Why do they look so real? Lily felt an odd sensation and couldn't resist the urge to touch them. Lisa shot a glare at Lily and warned, "Don't touch anything, because they're all real people." Real people? Lily was so shocked he was left speechless. No wonder the expressions on their faces looked so authentic, they were real people. But, why are they here? Lily asked, confused. Many of them are children who made mistakes, and I brought them here to be punished, Lisa explained, her eyes glinting mysteriously as she looked at Lily. Lily felt a chill as Lisa said those words with an eerie tone, making him instinctively shrink back. Yes, they're all children who were punished, Lisa continued with a meaningful voice. She then pointed to a television made of chocolate and used a crystal ball to show Lily the reasons why these children had been punished. It turned out that the red statue was once a little girl who did nothing but watch TV all day, without doing anything else. Lisa pointed to a carved bed next. This bed was once a boy who spent all day eating chocolate, even while lying in bed he never stopped eating. That's so scary, Lily exclaimed. But then, a sudden worry gripped him. If Will Kennedy was punished for indulging him too much, what would he turn into? Could any of the objects here be Will Kennedy? Lily rolled his wide eyes around, searching everywhere. But alas, he didn't have the fiery eyes like Sun Wukong, and after searching for a long time, his mind was still a mess, not knowing what to do. In this room, besides the punished children, there were also people of noble status or those with extraordinary talents. Take your time to choose, pick someone. Use your sincerity and a passionate kiss to break their curse, and they will become your assistant. If later on, you obediently serve me as my servant and satisfy me, I will tell you how to break the curse, Lisa said with a knowing tone. Hearing this, Lily's eyes lit up. If that's the case, isn't this the perfect chance to save Will Kennedy, he thought to himself. Hope flared up in his heart. He was determined to seize this opportunity to rescue Will Kennedy. So Lily began trying one person after another, from Vivian to Susie, even the lifeless four-legged golden ant was not overlooked. But in the end, he still found nothing. Just as Lily was pulling his hair in frustration, desperately searching for a solution, a sweet melody suddenly echoed in the air, with a rhythm so captivating that it drew him in, making it impossible to turn away. Wait, that's the song of a nightingale. Lily suddenly recalled what Carlo had once told him, those who break promises will be turned into nightingales and forced to sing until their voices grow hoarse. Carlo. Staring at the nightingale, Lily suddenly remembered his promise to Carlo in the tomb exploration forest, that he would save him first. Will Kennedy, what should I do? But Carlo helped me, without him, I would still be stuck in the tomb exploration forest. Carlo's sorrowful eyes still haunted my mind. Surely, he must be longing to be freed, just like how I want to save Will Kennedy. If I choose to save Will Kennedy first, Carlo won't know when he'll have the chance to be free. Not only would I be breaking my promise, but I'd also be hurting Carlo. He's placed all his hopes on me, I can't let him down. Besides, even if I rescue Will Kennedy right now, my conscience wouldn't be at peace. Will Kennedy, trust me, the witch said that as long as I dutifully serve her, she will fulfill her promise and show me how to break the curse. Will Kennedy, I will definitely use my own strength to save you, but right now, I need to keep my word and save Carlo first. But in this room full of objects, who really is Carlo? Lily remembered what Carlo had once said, he's the most beautiful, the most outstanding, and the most noble one here, just like the sun god. Suddenly, Lily's gaze stopped at a crystal basin filled with clear water placed in the corner of the room. Inside it was a beautiful statue carved in the image of Apollo, the sun god. His golden curls glistened, his ocean blue eyes sparkled, his nose stood straight and proud, and his lips were soft. On his head was a laurel crown, and in his hand, he held a lyre. His face was radiant like the sun. The brilliance of the sun god Apollo made Lily instantly recognize that this statue was none other than Carlo. Realizing this, Lily took a deep breath and thought, finally, I've found him. Although his hair and eyes had changed, the beauty that captivated him remained the same. Lily, thank you, Carlo said softly, gazing at Lily with a gentle smile, gratitude shining in his eyes. You chose him. Lisa glanced at Carlo, then at Lily. A mysterious smile crept across her face, her eyes glinting with a smug satisfaction, as if everything was unfolding exactly as she had planned. This remark made Carlo slightly uncomfortable. Hey, what do you mean by that? So what if Lily chose me? Hearing this, Lily blinked his confused eyes, curiously looking at Lisa. Yes, he chose Carlo, what's the problem with that? Lily asked. This time, Lisa wasn't as cheerful as when she chose Lily to be her servant. She pointed at Carlo and asked, do you know how to do laundry? Carlo shook his head, no, but I have Dior. Do you know how to clean a room? No, but I have Dior. Do you know how to cook? No, but I have Dior. The questions and answers continued, with the one asking clearly not satisfied, but the one answering seemed very pleased, not sensing anything amiss. However, Lily, standing nearby, was struck with a sudden realization. He remembered the times before, when faced with something he didn't know how to do, he would always proudly say, no worries, I have Will Kennedy. At that moment, the pride and arrogance in his face were now mirrored in Carlo's demeanor. A heavy weight suddenly crashed down on Lily's chest, leaving him breathless and overwhelmed. But, what if Dior is no longer there? Lily asked weakly, his entire body on the verge of collapsing. How could Dior not be there? He's my guard, my shadow, always by my side since I was little, Carlo replied with the same innocent confidence that Lily once had when he was younger, before realizing just how much he relied on Will Kennedy. When Lily realized that Will Kennedy had left him, it felt as if his heart had been torn open, leaving a gaping hole that nothing could fill. His heart became empty, as if the entire sky had collapsed before him. So, Carlo, during the time you were sealed by the curse, where was Dior? Lisa's sharp words pierced Carlo's heart like a dagger. When he was sealed, Dior had disappeared too. But out of pride, Carlo stubbornly refused to admit the truth. Dior is still waiting for me, always waiting for me to break free. As soon as I summon him, he will appear. Carlo seemed to be trying to comfort himself, or perhaps was afraid others wouldn't believe him. So, he quickly recited a spell to summon Dior. Soon after, a man riding a horse as black as velvet galloped towards them. He wore a knight's outfit, his brown curly hair draped over his shoulders, his tan skin complementing his emerald green eyes. He skillfully dismounted, knelt on one knee before Carlo, and performed a grand salute. My prince, I have arrived late, please punish me. It's all right, Carlo waved his hand, signaling Dior to rise. Dior, tell the witch everything you can do, Carlo said proudly. Witch, I can do everything. Please give me your orders, Dior replied, his face showing no emotion. Lisa frowned, glancing at both Carlo and Lily, then exaggeratedly raised her voice. You must do your own tasks. Don't rely on your servants to help. She added in a louder voice, prepare dinner. Lily stuck out his tongue inside, making dinner is so hard. But Carlo seemed completely unfazed. He stepped forward, gently ruffling Lily's hair and said, don't worry, you saved me after all. I'm someone who knows how to be grateful. It's just a meal, no big deal. But the witch said we can't ask Dior for help, Lily said helplessly. It's fine, we can have Dior teach us how to do it. Dior, come with us to the kitchen and show us how to make a few simple dishes, Carlo instructed. Yes, my prince, Dior nodded, his expressionless face remaining unchanged. Lily looked skeptically at Dior, who always had the strong appearance of a swordsman, his hands never straying far from the sword at his waist. Could this warrior really put on an apron and delicately make pastries? The idea was hard to believe. Carlo laughed and leaned close to Lily's ear, whispering, if I told you the clothes I'm wearing right now were made by Dior, would you be even more surprised? These clothes? Lily was startled, realizing that after Dior's arrival, Carlo had changed into a new outfit without him noticing. It was a dark blue ceremonial suit with golden rose patterns, a light blue shirt, black silk trousers, and glossy matching boots. Lily felt dizzy looking at Carlo in such an intricate outfit, with every stitch meticulously crafted. He couldn't imagine Dior, with his stern face and hands trained for wielding a sword, sitting down to sew such delicate seams. The thought was bizarre. Don't worry, Carlo reassured him with a smile, everything will be fine. With no other choice, Lily had to follow Carlo. The witch's kitchen had a medieval style, but it was filled with a wide array of tools and ingredients. Carlo asked Dior to list a few simple pastry recipes, and Dior began to speak fluently like a walking cookbook: buttered toast, ingredients, method. Apple pie, ingredients, method. Dior kept going, for nearly 15 minutes, leaving Lily feeling as if his head was about to explode. What was even more astonishing was how Dior listed the ingredients with precise measurements down to the gram, leaving nothing vague. How does he know it all so clearly? Lily wondered aloud. Carlo beamed with pride, he's like a living cookbook. In fact, Dior isn't a real person. When my father created him, he programmed him with a vast amount of knowledge. Cooking, martial arts, music, embroidery, fashion design, he knows it all. Lily was utterly amazed, his eyes widening in surprise. Now he finally understood why Dior always seemed so stiff and emotionless, because he wasn't human. The king's idea was certainly unique. With someone as versatile as Dior by his side, no wonder Carlo didn't know how to do anything himself. As Lily looked at Carlo, memories of his own past came flooding back. He couldn't take his eyes off Carlo, feeling as if he was seeing a reflection of his former self. Being stared at like that made Carlo a bit shy, he cleared his throat awkwardly, a soft blush creeping onto his handsome face. Carlo, shall we start with banana bread? It seems simple and tasty, Lily suggested. Carlo nodded, sure, then have Dior guide us. No problem. Dior. Carlo waved his hand, and Dior immediately obeyed. Dior quickly prepared the ingredients: bananas, eggs, butter, all perfectly measured without any mistakes. The most impressive part was that the flour Dior had prepared was exact to the gram, not a bit more or less. Lily's look of astonishment gradually shifted into admiration for Dior. Dior got to work, his movements so swift that Lily was left in awe. He picked up the bananas, drew out a small knife, and in just a few lightning-fast motions, the peels were gone, and the bananas were sliced into perfect thin pieces. Then, he took a handful of walnuts, tossed them into the air, and when they landed, they had already been chopped into fine bits. Lily watched, unable to blink, afraid he might miss a single second of Dior's spectacular performance. This is the skill of a master chef. Lily exclaimed, unable to contain his admiration. His knife skills are truly remarkable. Carlo remained calm, as he walked over and ruffled Lily's hair. Do you know why Dior uses the knife so fast? Cold sweat beaded on Lily's forehead, and he nervously asked, to kill someone? Unexpectedly, Carlo burst into laughter, nearly choking from it. You're thinking way too far. Dior's fastest knife skills are for cutting fabric. Lily's face flushed red with embarrassment. He glanced awkwardly at Dior, surprised to see the stern man's face subtly blushing. If Lily hadn't looked closely, he wouldn't have noticed that Dior could actually feel shy. I thought he was just like a block of wood. Lily thought to himself. As Lily and Carlo were still teasing each other, Dior had already finished making the banana bread. The bread came out of the oven, releasing a sweet aroma that filled the room, giving off the comforting feeling of home. When Lily took a bite of the banana bread, he tasted the smoothness of the vanilla blended with the rich butter and the crunchiness of the walnuts. The soft banana slices were topped with a layer of tangy lemon juice, creating a complex and refined flavor, like a symphony that awakened all his senses. Lily took another bite, so delicious that he felt like he could swallow his tongue. For something as simple as banana bread, Dior managed to make it extraordinary. His talent is just as remarkable as Will Kennedy. Lily sat there, holding the bread in his hands, his eyes fixed on Dior, but it was as if he wasn't really looking at him, but through him, seeing someone else. Lily's gaze was full of longing and affection. This made Carlo feel a bit uncomfortable. Dior is just a servant, but I am the noble and elegant prince, Carlo thought to himself. All right, you've looked enough, it's time to get back to work, Carlo interrupted Lily's thoughts. This made Lily a little annoyed, and he shot a glare at Carlo before reluctantly starting to make the bread. But things didn't go as smoothly as they had expected. We forgot to add salt. Carlo, stop flinging flour onto my face. Oh no, my milk is overflowing. Lily, your dish is about to burn. Ah, get the cream out quickly. The entire kitchen was thrown into chaos with all sorts of frantic noises. After a long battle, the two of them, one covered in flour, the other in cream, finally managed to bring out a plate of banana bread, though it was a hard black and gold lump. Dior, standing there with his cold, expressionless face, slightly twitched his mouth but maintained his dignified demeanor. My prince, shall I repeat the steps one more time? After they finished, Lily sat on the bed, his curious eyes gazing at the large clock on the wall. The hands pointed to exactly 1 a.m. I've been in the candy castle for 2 days, but when I returned home, only an hour had passed. How magical! Lily thought to himself. He and Carlo, with Dior's help, had finally made the banana bread. Although it didn't look very appetizing, at least it was edible. When the banana bread was finally done, Lily and Carlo shouted in joy, hugging each other in a moment of pure happiness. Only after a while did they both realize what they were doing and quickly pulled away from each other. Carlo's face turned bright red, from his neck all the way to his ears. He's clumsy but so endearing, Lily thought to himself. It seemed like, as long as Carlo was around, everything could be solved, just like how Will Kennedy had always helped him. Lily thought about Will Kennedy. No matter how difficult it was, I've finally found a way to save him. I will persevere until the end. With that determination, Lily felt at peace and gradually drifted off to sleep. It was the most restful night he had ever had.